Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever it is you're watching this from. My name is Elliot Upton. This is at UP Fitness Live, and this is our twice monthly live feed, or bi-weekly, or once every 2 weeks, however you want to say it. I am here to answer your questions, queries, anything about our own products, anything about the fitness industry, anything going on in the fitness industry, any fads, diet, nutrition, supplementation, you name it. I am here to give you the lowdown on what is right, what is wrong, and how to see through the smoke and mirrors that are all over the place. Now, as always, you can jump in and ask any of your questions in the comments box here. You can also rewatch this again on YouTube, which will be up on my YouTube channel at Elliot Upton. Not at Elliot Upton, it's YouTube, not Instagram. They all do go up there, so be sure to get on over there to check them out. If you are looking for a cardio companion, they're excellent as a cardio companion. Loads and loads and loads of you coming in. Charlie Hancock has asked the first question. He's got right in there real quick. Hello, any tips when you get deeper into a bulk? Charlie Hancock, what do you mean, any tips? Any tips for what? What ails you specifically? What are you thinking about? Obviously, I will do my best to try and give you some tips, but I need to know what you want tips on. With regards to it just being a bulk, that doesn't give me much information. Now, we have loads of my girls. We've got Hannah, we've got Emir, we've got a few other bits and bobs coming in from my Live Up program. So, those of you who don't know what the Live Up program is, it's our cheapest, lowest cost personal training program ever. You can find it on upfitness.com. There's a men's program and a women's program. It's £50 per month, and I would say it's pretty damn good value for money. Any of you Live Uppers who are already in here, chime in on that and let them know your thoughts. Jashman, best time for creatine. Best time for creatine is post-workout, when you are going to have better cellular uptake. So I would put between 5 and 10 grams into your post-workout shake, or even in water during your workout / after your workout, and that should be best for you. Dad bod, what is the most muscle you can gain naturally over your lifetime? Dad bod, it depends on the person, depends on how they're training, depends on how consistently they're eating. Who knows, people's weight is going to kind of stop. You look at someone like Nick Mitchell, for instance. He's just a big dude. Now, what I would have to do to try and put on 120 odd kilos or so of muscle that he pretty much is, the guy's sitting at probably sub 10%, and he's maybe between 150 and 120 kilos right now, I would imagine. Now, for me personally, to be able to do that, I'm 5'11", I'm currently sitting at 100 kilos. It would take me a good decade to get that heavy naturally, if not more. So very much depends on the person, depends on consistency, depends on genetics, depends on overall frame size. There's no real answer to it. Loads of you. Benefits of a jump rope. Great for cardio, great for your calves, great for your shoulders, good for posture, and really, really easy. You can take it anywhere, do anything with it. Unless it's really, really difficult, one of those wiry ones which slaps your back or slaps your ankles. They are nasty. Alex Pinder, I am very well, thank you. How are you? What have we got? We've got some of our own trainers in here. Matt Personal. He's in here, one of our Mayfair trainers. How many carbs do you recommend for a woman? Approximately 110 pounds. Depends on the day, depends on how hard you're training, depends on your genetics, depends on your body fat levels. There is no answer for that. I would suggest for the majority of people in your average diet, especially if you're trying to get relatively lean, anywhere between 50 and 150 grams of carbs per day is about adequate for most people. Those of you who are leaner can potentially take on more. Those of you who are training more can potentially take on more. Those of you who aren't training hard enough should be taking less. Those of you who are carrying more body fat should be taking less. So there's no answer to that, really. Auntie Kath, our very own Auntie Kath, who's working her ass off right now. Sam Proctor, word to your mum. Doing my first sprint triathlon at the end of the summer, even with your pigeon foot, really? With training for swimming, running and cycling, would you say a biased strength training session would be better to make sure I don't burn out? Absolutely yes. Eat a lot of food and strength train, sort of 6 reps or less. The stronger you are, the easier it is to do endurance sports, because you're going to be able to hold a position for longer. You see, I'm tired today. I spent the last 10 hours basically with my eyes stuck on my computer trying to write up this seminar and do the Live Up programs, female Live Up programs for next year, and all sorts of stuff's going on in my brain at the moment. Benji Mackers, yo Benji, cyclic dextrin, is this best intra or post workout? I would suggest probably intra workout for cyclic dextrin, or post. It doesn't really matter, to be honest. It's something I've always used, or when I've used it in the past, I've had it intra workout. Post workout, I usually tend to prefer food, because the majority of the time, by the time I've finished my workout, I'm starving hungry. So I like to have food post workout, but either or, it should be about as effective as either way. Andrew, what's up? What have we got? Beth Streeter. Hi, just bought the High Protein Handbook. How can I work out portion size I should be eating? High Protein Handbook, is this something that I should know about? Maybe it sounds like it is. Is this a UP thing that I've not been told about? Barry Jacobs, how much fat should you be losing on a deficit per week? Depends on how much fat you currently have. Depends how hard you're dieting, how big the deficit is, how hard you're exercising. But I would recommend for the majority of people, if you are taking a caliper measurement, anywhere between 0.5% and 1% per week is a really, really good target and an acceptable target. If with regards to weight, and you're in the right kind of deficit, you're training hard and you're being consistent, a weight drop initially, certainly not consistently, but initially between 0.5 kilo and 1 kilo a week is about as fast as you want to go. Some people will drop a lot more because they are hyper responsive. Other people may go a bit slower and then suddenly may drop off the end of a cliff. But it's kind of a how long is a piece of string answer, but that should be a nice target. Amy, I have a niggling shoulder problem and I'm doing stretching, which is helping, and the pain is easing. My question is, should I lower my weight when I do my shoulder exercise or stick at what I use? I would potentially lower it just to help your recovery. Get the recovery done, get yourself healthy again, and then start looking at weight progression. One of the things that will happen when you drop the weight down a little bit is you're going to be able to keep the shoulder in a better position and just keep higher reps, keep blood pumping through it. The more blood is pumping through it, the more nutrients are going to be delivered to it, the faster the tissues are going to be able to recover. Barry Jacobs, good evening to you too. Little Sam, my very own little Sam from here in Marbella, Mothering 9. What's up? One of our girls from Live Up as well. Sam Proctor, no worries, champ. What have we got? Fluffy Head, that is a cool name. My head's getting less fluffy by the day, honestly. Stress. Mothering 9, should I be using Amplify during my workout? Absolutely, yes you should. Amplify is something that I recommend to all of the Live Up participants. It's our intra-workout supplement which contains electrolytes to replenish lost vitamins and minerals from when you're lost electrolytes essentially, from when you are training, from when you are sweating, from when your muscles are contracting. It's got high dose of glutamine in there, which will basically mimic anything it needs to mimic. If your body is lacking in a particular amino acid, it will help to produce that amino acid and fill holes. It has leucine, which is going to increase protein synthesis, not only the rate of protein synthesis, but the length of time that protein synthesis goes on for, and glycine, which is going to help the uptake of all of these things. So yes, absolutely you should. J.W. Williams, what's the best workout split? There is no best workout split. It depends on you, depends on your genetics, depends on your goal. For the majority of people I have found that come onto these chats who are usually looking for fat loss and body composition, is I find 3 to 4 days of full body workout split on similar to like a full body every day, but on a push-pull basis, maybe lower, upper, that kind of thing, I find works best for everybody. Tasha East, what's up? Hey to you too. InstaZM. Fasted cardio, benefits or not? For me, Tasha, yes, this is something that I know a lot of people in UP disagree with me on, but I have always found if I do fasted cardio in the morning, I get leaner faster than with any other form of training. If I ask clients to do fasted cardio in the morning, they get leaner faster than any other clients. This happens for a number of reasons. Now, the whole bro science way of saying things is that, when you're in the morning, because you're fasted, you're going to burn more calories. You're not going to burn more calories. You're going to burn exactly the same amount of calories. The way to put that into perspective is if I give you your car, whatever, there's your car. Does it burn more fuel in the morning or more fuel in the afternoon if you drive it exactly the same? There is no difference because it's exactly the same machine. The difference being is that fasted training increases something called hormone-sensitive lipase. Now, hormone-sensitive lipase is like a fat-burning factory. Okay, these are little factories that actually take fat, oxidize it, burn it, and get it used. Now, when you train fasted, your body increases the amount of that hormone-sensitive lipase it actually has in it. Therefore, you increase your ability to burn fat faster. It's not about burning more calories, it's not about this, it's not about the other. You actually increase your body's fat burning furnace. You end up being able to, add 5, 10, 15, 50% more fat burning ability over time. So this is why I do like fasted cardio. This is why I recommend fasted cardio. I think it's great personally. Not only that, but one of the things with fasted cardio is that it's going to get you out of bed earlier. When you get out of bed earlier, you are going to be better throughout the day. Your energy levels are going to be better. You're going to be more productive. You're going to work harder. Therefore, your work relationship, your work productivity, etc. is going to improve. When that improves, you're less stressful, you're more successful. All of these things have a really good knock-on effect to getting up first thing in the morning. I like to go for a walk out at sunrise every day. I put a little challenge out on my own Instagram the other week. saying everybody get out for at least half an hour to an hour and watch the sunrise, walk while the sunrise. And the few people who stepped up to that challenge and did it said it was absolutely incredible, and all sorts of things changed for them. So again, fasted cardio kind of forces you to do that. Get up earlier, and by getting up earlier, guess what? You're probably going to go to bed earlier, which means you're going to recover better, you're going to grow better, you're going to drop fat faster, you're going to be less stressed. All of these things are very, very beneficial, and this is why, yes, I am an advocate for fasted cardio. Benji, you're welcome. Willowy, any tips for keeping up workout intensity when weight training on your own? Music. Music, for me, there are two things that I listen to when I'm training. Number one is something like AC/DC. I like old school heavy metal, AC/DC, Iron Maiden, things like that. Steel Panther for those ones of you out there who like the slightly more explicit piss-takey versions of rock, but great instrumentals. That, and I also listen to really heavy motivational speaking. When I'm feeling like I really need to get my head into it, I sit down for 10 minutes before my workout with my sound cancelling headphones on, Bose QC35s, just in case anyone is wondering and they want them, because they completely kill the sound in our gyms, and our gyms are very, very noisy, so I can't hear anything other than the music, which I love. So what I then do is I put a couple of albums on, either heavy metal rock, something like that, or one of these motivational speeches, the kind of epic motivational speeches that some of us listen to. That gets my head in the game, and that gets my training intensity up. Secondly, always keep a stopwatch on you so you know to keep your rest periods accurate. This is one of the biggest factors to getting a lower training intensity, is the fact that we get up in the middle of a set and then we piss around on our phone and we go and do this and we go and talk to someone, and it's a real nightmare. For us, working in gyms, one of the most difficult things about training in your own gym is having to talk to people. Now, I know it sounds really, really rude, but I cannot get an hour's workout done in an hour. It's impossible for me. I need to free up at least 2 hours to get an hour's worth of workout done, because I get dragged away every 2 seconds. However, when I travel, when I go to Manchester, when I go to Dubai, when I'm in Asia, whatever, is I go to separate gyms as well as our own. I'll go to a random commercial gym because nobody knows me, nobody recognizes me, no one wants to say anything to me, and I get the best sessions ever there. So this again is another factor. Try and free yourself from distractions and use music. I've run out of Chocotree and send help. This is not a drill. Wales needs a UP. Okay, Kath, sit tight. Keep your phone on. Someone will be there shortly with a Chocotree. Don't panic. This is okay. We've got this. We haven't got this. No, we've got it. Don't worry, Kath. It's fine. We're on our way. What's the best workout split? Upper body, lower body? Jay Williams, you've just asked that question and I've just answered it. Nick Brev, enjoy doing a full body workout rather than body splits. Am I okay doing this 4 times per week? Absolutely, Nick, yes you are. I'm a massive, massive fan of them. They are more metabolic. You tend to not be able to train quite so much volume per session, so you tend to find the frequency with which you stimulate the muscle is better, and that is often more effective for both growth and general fat loss because of the metabolic effect. Best form of HIIT training? What equipment, sprint time, rest period? James, for me, with all things considered, let's say someone is very, very healthy and they move well and they have warmed up thoroughly. For me, the best form of HIIT training is always going to be sprints, uphill sprints. Why? Because it is the hardest, it is the most metabolic. Now, of course, that being said, 90% of people find them extraordinarily hard and bitch about them and whine about them and don't do them at the intensity that they should be done. Therefore, is it the best form of HIIT? Maybe not. The best form of HIIT is something that you can give an 80 to 90% output and sustain that output for the allotted time, and you actually enjoy it, because if you enjoy it, you will do it. So there are a few caveats to this. For me, the number one is always going to be uphill sprints. Number two is going to be pick something highly intense that gets you blown out of your ass, but that you will actually do. Now, for me, my current favorite is I'm going between sprints. I do ski erg, big ski erg, and straight onto an air bike. I do them in threes because picking 3 exercises, or 4 or 5, that are all close together in your gym, really breaks up the intervals. By the time you've sat on a rower 4 times, you've already done 20 intervals. If you're rotating between a couple of machines, it keeps it varied and it's really, really nice. With regards to the actual rest periods, etc., what I would recommend is going somewhere between, again, dependent on your ability, between 10 and 20 seconds. If you can sustain that kind of output, anywhere between 10 and 20 seconds is adequate, and rest anywhere between 30 seconds and a minute if you're really fit, a minute and a minute and a half if you're kind of a beginner. Nick Brev, started sled push and pulls onto the end of my workout. Should I go for as fast as I can with lightweight or slow and steady heavy pushes? With the pushes, I would vary them, do some really, really quick and powerful and some very, very heavy. With the sled pulls, it should be heavy and as fast as you can. Don't be plodding, be moving quickly, but still go quite heavy. Whereas with the pushes, I would go some really, really fast and powerful and slightly lighter, and some really, really heavy. Mothering, you're welcome. Amy Morgan, thanks for the advice. I will do this for the next few weeks. Thoughts on having low carb days with lower calories on rest days to assist with weight loss? It's very, very, very useful indeed. Calorie and carb cycling, which is essentially creating periods of a deficit with periods of either maintenance or slight surplus, which over an average of say a week or a month or whatever, actually puts you in a deficit, is very, very useful for fat loss because it can increase sort of energy levels or perceived energy levels, certainly, refuel the muscles, keep cortisol at bay, and still maintain a good level of fat loss. So yes, absolutely. Bear with me, just getting a drink. From my Ultimate Performance Shaker, available in all good stores near you, or just our website. I was stretching my hamstrings. I held for 30 seconds, then let go. Deep breath in and out, stretch a bit further, started to feel a tingly, fuzzy sensation. What does this mean? Could just be you're breaking down a little bit of an adhesion in there. There could be some toxins, etc. Could just be breaking down. It could be one of many things. You know, there might be, you know, the skin may have been bound to the muscle slightly and it released. It could have been blood flow. Any number of things. Elliot, how much is too much water? I've always carried around one of those environmentally friendly bottles and drink tons throughout the day. I can constantly refill it. How much is too much? It very much depends, you know. Too much water is going to tend to be defined if you dilute your vitamin and mineral balance so heavily by drinking so much water, then it becomes an issue. The chances of you drinking too much water are slim to none. You know, I'd say during the summer I'd probably drink between 6 and 10 litres a day, but I do sweat a lot. During the winter at least, I mean, what have I done today? Minimum 6 litres. So I can't imagine you are drinking too much. Probably not something you need to worry about right now. David, former Mayfair client with Jay. First day back with UPLA today. Good to be back. Awesome to have you back, David. Jay's a good friend. He's a very, very, very good trainer. And hopefully I'll be out in LA very, very soon. So if you're around, be sure to say hello. Be cool to meet you. Nick Brave, sorry for repeat questions. Asked before, I checked what others have asked. No worries. What's the best way to deal with exertion headaches? Only get them when training and it usually continues for a few hours even once I've finished training. Any advice? Lisa Marie Tolley, stretch out your neck and traps. So, specifically, what's probably causing them is muscles here. The SCM or sternocleidomastoid and the scalenes which sit underneath them. Now these get very, very tight, and when you're straining they pull behind your ears and they can create massive tension headaches. So, you know, if you pull your head to the side like that, do you feel a stretch? If you pull your chin up slightly, do you feel a stretch? Do a lot of stretching of your neck, and if you can, get massages because it will really, 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 really help. They're the most common causes. People think it's because of blood pressure because of this. It's very rarely because of blood pressure. It's usually because of tightness through the neck muscles, because obviously what do we spend the majority of our days doing on a computer or in a car or on our phone? That. So we shorten all of this, and it's not good. It needs to be lengthened. Will, no problem. Anti-Cath, should you do your measurements the day before or after a refeed? Depends. When did you do them the first time round? When you're measuring anything, whether it's your weight, this, that, and the other, you should be measuring it in the same environment in which you got your control measurement, so your first measurement. You should be doing it at the same time every single time, ideally, or at least be consistent with when. When do you upload on YouTube the live sessions? Ideally, I try to get them back up there by about the weekend. So the issue is the camera here, which is just there, that records in HD to try and make sure the sound is good, to make sure everything is right now. That then takes, despite a lot of playing around with our tech guys, seems to take about 6 hours to load onto my computer because it's an hour long. Then takes about 45 minutes for me to edit. Then it takes about an hour to then get up. It takes about 5 or 6 hours to then get up onto YouTube, dependent on the day. We don't know why it's taking so long, so I usually have to do it over the space of a couple of days, so they're usually up there by the weekend, so you can watch them at the weekend. Willowy, possibly a stupid question, but what is the science behind splitting push versus pull workouts? There's not really a science behind it, to be honest. It just allows you to get nice, big, intense workouts. It allows you to hit the muscle with the right frequency without overtraining them. It allows you to train quite often without training them, therefore you get a greater metabolic effect. You know, and it's just one of those things. While one muscle is working, the other one can be resting. Will sled pushes and pulls make my upper body bulk? No, they will not. April, why do you not recommend the bench press for ladies? It's not that I don't recommend it. It's just, for me personally, this is not a UP thing. I just don't favour it for two reasons. Number one, I just went like that with two. Number one, the majority of women have rounded shoulders anyway, for two reasons. Boobs being the first one. A lot of girls, because you have boobs, as you pull your shoulders forwards like that, okay? That could be, you know, the weight of them. Even girls with smaller boobs, maybe there's some insecurity there. What it tends to happen is you ruin your posture by pulling forwards. Now, to then train the pecs pulls your shoulders further, even forwards, increasing your risk of injury, reducing the kind of aesthetic look of your body, because you end up with rounded, insecure shoulders that are all here. It's not very, very nice. Again, the risk of injury is also increased. Secondly, if you do choose to train your chest, and we bypass the fact that it may not put you in a very posturally good position, in my opinion, and that of the majority of females that I've trained, because I refuse to train competitors, etc., and bodybuilders. It's not something I believe in. The majority of women on the street don't necessarily want a big muscular chest. You know, they don't want dry striations all the way across here in a shelf, etc., etc. So it's not necessary for me. Now, what I do prefer is things like dips. I like dips because it's going to force your shoulder girdle to rebalance itself and stabilize, forces the lats to work a little bit, the rhomboids, the lower traps, the serratus complex. So they work, and also the opposing to dips, which would be an overhead press. I like them doing overhead presses as well, again, because it depresses the shoulder girdle, it works to stabilizers, it opens up the chest a little bit. So, like I say, this is not to say you shouldn't be doing bench press. If you want to do bench press, by all means do bench press. It's just the reason that I tend not to. However, of course, I do always give females the opportunity to do stuff like that. What I tend to recommend for the most people, and that I've put in some of the female live up programs, is push-ups, because push-ups is a really, really good metabolic movement that is going to burn fat, build a little bit of muscle, rebalance the shoulder stability and strength whilst working the chest. However, the majority of females in a workout, unless you are exceptionally strong, are not really getting much of a training effect out of a pec workout, because you're not lifting much, okay? It's just the way it is. That's my preference and why I choose not to do it. Amy Morgan, tips for increasing weight on a bench press. Use the two movements that I just said. Make sure you're incorporating dips, heavy dips, and make sure you're incorporating overhead presses. That will really, really help. And also make sure you're working your shoulder stabilizers properly. So, you know, make sure you're working your rear delts, make sure you're working your rhomboids and traps in order to be able to keep everything in there. You can also work on partial reps and lockouts and things like that, depending on where you're failing. Najima, I'm trying to do my first pull-up. Any advice? Yes, the best way to help a muscle become stronger is almost to use the rehab approach. Now, there are three types of muscular contraction. One of them is a concentric, which is basically the pulling, the shortening of a muscle. So I want to pull up, for instance. The concentric is when we go from here and we pull ourselves up. We have the eccentric, which is when we're from here and we lower ourselves down. And we have an isometric, which is static. So for instance, we could either hold here or we could hold at the far end. Now, the way that I find is best to be able to learn how to do pull-ups is to work in order. You do an isometric. So first of all, you essentially learn how to grip the bar, and you grip the bar with weight. So you can do some where you hang off the bar for, let's say, a minute. If you can hang off the bar with weight attached to you, even better. You can hang at the top like that for, say, a minute, and what that's going to do, it's going to start to get all the muscles active. It's going to help the shoulder stabilizers, again, the rhomboids, the lower traps, the rear delts a little bit, the lats are going to kick in. All of these things start to condition your body to be able to take load at either end of the movement. Then you can start doing eccentric. After you have mastered the isometric, these static holds at the top and bottom of the pull-up, you can start doing eccentric movements. Got an itchy head, sorry. Eccentric movements. So you start at the top, you can say jump off a bench and pull yourself up, and then slowly lower yourself down as slowly as you can. And repeat that a few times. Then eventually, once you start being able to do that, put yourself on a step or something similar at different heights away from the bar, then jump up and lower yourself down all the way to the ground. Make sure you're using full range. There's a number of ways to do it, but that would be my advice. Start with the isometric, then with the eccentric, and then with assisted concentric movements, and train them 2 or 3 times a week maybe, and you should start to find you get a good result out of it. Hi, when I bench press, my arms shake. I do train triceps, but I don't understand why this happens. Can you help? It could be shoulder instability, it could be triceps, but my guess would be it's probably a lack of strength in the posterior chain. So again, your rhomboids, rear delts, start working on retractions, pulling back, start working on depressions, pushing down, things like that, and some trap 3 raises maybe, which can be found on upfitness.com. If you go to the UP Fitness YouTube and type in trap 3 raises, there are some on there as well, and that should really help. It's just about stabilizing. What you have to remember is that any lift is only as stable as its base or as its anchor. So for instance, on a bench press, if the force is here, pulling me around, then this needs to be super stable. Think about a big oak tree in the wind. If the wind's blowing it around all over the place, or there's a load on the end, but my roots are not stable, then the tree's gonna fall over. If you can stabilize the root and get this super, super strong, bury it right in the ground so it's not gonna move, then it doesn't matter how windy it gets or how much load you apply on the end, it's not gonna fall out. Iro, how many calories do you recommend for female? Approximately 15 body fat and 110 pounds. I don't recommend calories on here. I've said this 1,000 times. You ask the same question every single time. I love the fact that you come in here, but if you want personal training, if you want that kind of detail planned out for you, then you will need to purchase one of our products or the book and try to apply it yourself, rather than coming in here and asking me to work out your macros every time. Sorry to sound stupid, do you mean sports massage or just a standard massage? You can get someone who's just slightly capable, knows anatomy and physiology, and is able to massage out the neck. You know, if you have a partner, you have a friend, you have a son, you have a daughter, they can do it. It's essentially the muscles down here. You can, if you grab the side of your neck here, you can feel it and it'll hurt quite a lot. You can actually do it yourself, you know? You grab it like that and rub it up and down, you'll feel the headache go right up behind where you are targeting. Currently following the UP program and struggling to get enough carbs throughout the day. Any tips to improve carb intake? Wow, well Michael, if you are struggling to get enough carbs, you are like the only one ever. I find this really, really difficult. If you're struggling to have carbs, then have lighter versions, you know. White rice is going to be a really easy way of getting your carb intake nice and high. You're going to be able to take in, you know, add a little bit of fruit to various things, add some, you can even take an intra-workout shake, you know, add a scoop of cyclic dextrin or Vitago to your intra-workout shake. That can really, really help. But again, it kind of depends, you know. If you're doing a one-to-one online PT program or a one-to-one program in the gym, touch base with your trainer, because, you know, I find that quite surprising that you'd be struggling to get enough carbs. Unless you're super, super, super lean and on super, super high calories, I feel like you may, you know, that's going to be a difficult one to get. But intra-workout carbs could be your answer. Good evening, Elliot. How are you doing? I'm great, thank you, Humble Graham. How are you? Jenna, laughs. What exercises would you recommend for someone who has an anterior pelvic tilt? First and foremost, you need to be opening up your hip flexors potentially. That could be pulling you into a posterior pelvic tilt. Then I would also work on basic glute movements, things like hip thrusts and single leg hip thrusts, ensuring a posterior pelvic tilt through the action. Okay, so make sure you're getting that done. Also work your abs hard. If you are working your abs hard and you learn how to engage them properly, that will also help to pull the front of the pelvis up slightly. Working the glutes, working the abs, that should help to reverse it and stretch out the offending muscles, which could well be your TFL potentially. It could be your psoas complex, so make sure you're stretching and strengthening. Lauren Wheel, what's my favourite exercise for biceps? A low incline dumbbell curl. Puts the biceps in a really, really stretched position. It's damn hard. You can really, really feel the burn, and I love supersetting it with something with an exact opposing position of flexion. So, you know, an incline curl, your elbow is basically back there, depending on where you are on the bench. I like to then superset that with something like a cable preacher where my elbow is immediately in front. And I need all the help I can get with arms because they're a very, 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 very weak point for me. Travel like Nina. I've been measuring myself Sunday mornings, but I'm just starting to introduce refeed meals on Saturday night. Should I still keep measuring days Sunday morning or move it to Saturday morning? Again, doesn't really matter as long as you're doing it consistently. If you want to move it to Saturday morning, then move it to Saturday morning. At least then you're in the same place as you've been until now. Danny C, what's up? Humble Graham, if I'm taking a quality multivitamin such as UP Complete Multi, is it still necessary to take supplements individually? For example, vitamin D3, iron, magnesium, etc. Magnesium, I would suggest yes. Vitamin D3 depends. Iron, probably not. Magnesium almost certainly though. The one thing you probably want to do is just go and get a simple blood test from your doctors to see if you are deficient in anything. What I tend to find is the majority of people can always benefit from more magnesium, more vitamin D, and more vitamin B6 and 12. Humble Graham, what dietary advice would you give to someone who is estrogen dominant? Take all of the chemically enriched shit out of your diet. Eat foods and not products. Like, clearly define it in your head. Eat foods, not products. Take something like our Estro Support supplement, which can really help support the detoxification of these estrogens. You need to be eating an awful lot of green vegetables, specifically dark leafy greens, which contain a lot of DIM, and that can really, really help out, again, with a lot of water. Lauren Will, welcome. Najima, advice for someone with PCOS trying to lose weight and tone up. You tend to find that a lower carb approach is far, far better with someone with PCOS, so that would be my immediate choice. Would you advise most people to avoid products containing soy and dairy? Humble Graham, absolutely yes, I would. Soy and dairy, it's pretty much widely accepted now. They're the cause of the majority of estrogenic toxicity, which is why I choose to advise people certainly not to take dairy on the Live Up program, and certainly no soy. Stufa, what's up? Kirsty, can I squat my way to a peachy bum? For me, very few people can squat their way to a peachy bum. Squats, on the whole, unless you are particularly gifted and very, very active in the posterior chain, are a predominantly quad-based exercise, and they're a quad-dominant exercise. What I would suggest if you want to get a really, really peachy bum is do hip thrusts and variations thereof. Do a normal hip thrust. You can do single leg hip thrusts, you can do staggered stance hip thrusts, you can do all sorts of things like that, and hip thrusts are going to be king if you want to build a better bum. Just ensure, again, you are doing them correctly and you are tilting the pelvis and not simply trying to lift a bar or a dumbbell in the air. Vary the rep ranges between low reps and heavy sets, and also very, very high pump style sets. Stufa, does Ultimate Performance sell beef protein? Not that I'm aware of right now. If a new product has come out that I'm not aware of, I'm sure I'll find out about it very, very soon. But if so, do give me a shout if you've seen it and I haven't. Kirsty B, do resistance bands help with the thrust? You can add resistance bands to give you some extra resistance on the way up. You can add resistance bands around your legs and knees to help you push out harder, in which case, yes, it's going to help activate the glutes slightly more. How many reps sets to build muscle for female? Again, very, very varied. You should be ranging anywhere between 6 and potentially 20 for a female. But for men, the majority of men can go anywhere between sort of 6 and say 15, dependent on the guy, dependent on genetics, dependent on muscle fiber type. But for females, anywhere between 6 and 20, but make sure you're varying them, because it's important that you train in the lower rep ranges to get very, very strong. The stronger you get, the more weight you can lift in the higher rep ranges, and therefore you're going to be able to apply much more mechanical destruction. Stress. What is the best alternative to an incline hip extension if my gym does not have it? You can do that over a Swiss ball, you can do it over a bench, you can do a Romanian deadlift, you can do a good morning. They're essentially the same kind of movements. Best foods to eat for carb loading, the same sort of carbs you would have any other time. Rice, pasta, potatoes, whatever. Best hip exercise and best glute exercise. Hip thrust, one and the same. For me, the hip thrust is the king of those two exercises. It's not the exercise that I would do if I was given one last exercise for the rest of my life. That would be a deadlift. But hip thrust for me is the best exercise for the hips and glutes. Me again, wobbly mum tum. It's okay. Mums are supposed to have wobbly tums. It's not a problem. Lisa Marie, I've seen Nick talk about bone broth. How often should you have it? Doesn't matter if it's in liquid or powder form. But Nick loves a bit of bone broth. I've never personally had it ever in my life, so that is a question that you want to be asking him. Thanks for answering the questions. Very informative, or so informative. You're welcome, Najima. Not a problem at all. So many names out here I probably get very, very wrong, so I apologise for that. Kirsty B, I want rid of it. Well, getting rid of it is not it's not that difficult. You've just got to be consistent on a diet. You have to train correctly, but above all else, it is dietary consistency. This is the one thing that's missing from the majority of people who say, I want to lose this tongue, I want to lose that, I want to lose the other. It's just about consistency and compliance. Question about maintenance. Is it okay to, let's go away. Is it okay to To eat to maintain and do fewer training sessions if you're genuinely okay with current situation when lacking motivation, or should I push on? If you're okay with your current situation, then basically what you should be doing is as much as you need to do to remain happy and stay where you are happy. Obviously, when you then want to progress again, you can turn the levels up and move forwards. So yes, that's absolutely fine. Top 4 non-negotiable supplements for a male trying to maximize body composition. For me, there are no non-negotiables. If you are, they're one of those things. Supplements, are they necessary? No. However, are they extraordinarily helpful in some cases? Yes, absolutely they are. So if I were to advise them, it would be magnesium above all else for me. I would take vitamin D, again, very, 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 very useful indeed. Omega-3 fish oils, I am also a huge fan of. And for men specifically, probably zinc, but not everybody is in need of zinc. Probably zinc though. And this day and age, probably estro support. Estro support, because the majority of us have quite severe estrogenic toxicity issues. That again would be something that I find very, very beneficial. But again, they're not non-negotiable, they are highly advisable. Thoughts on the carnivore diet? Sorry if you answered it before. Carnivore diet, I've actually tried it. It made me feel appalling. One of my close friends advocates it massively. She's a huge advocate for it. But it's not for me. For me, I don't really get behind anything that is so heavily restricted. Now, the theory behind it is absolutely great. The idea that it's going to improve gut health to the degree of your neurotransmitters firing properly, everything's going brilliantly. But for me specifically, it made me feel like shit. And the same applies for a lot of people. It has its medical uses. Again, if you have issues with insulin sensitivity, diabetes, all these kinds of things. But do I suggest you take it on as a body composition style diet? No, I don't, because anything restrictive is ultimately unsustainable and it's going to get out of control. You're going to relapse, you're going to crash. So I don't believe in it true. And the friend of mine that advocates it massively, when she goes off, she goes off. It's not something she can sustain all of the time. When she has a cheat, she really, really goes in, because eventually that dam has to break. So I'm not a huge fan of it. Kirsty, you're welcome. Najima, you're welcome. Correct pronunciation. Boom. Yeah. How often should I change one's program? Realistically, when you stop adapting to it. Now, the majority of people can stick to a program for 6, 8, 12 weeks and continue to adapt and continue to progress. However, the reason we tend to change programs slightly sooner than that is purely because the majority of clients can't engage themselves mentally in a program for that long. So it's a case of just changing it, not to stagnate it. However, if you are still progressing with the program, there is no reason to change it. If you're still being able to increase weight, you'll be still being able to do all these things, there are no reason to switch things up and move on. Some of you out there are what I would like to call a program whore, and you bounce from program to program to program to program so regularly, saying, no, this doesn't work, this doesn't work, this doesn't work, that not one of them did you give enough time for it actually to take effect and for your body to have any response whatsoever. So it is important that you give every single program you get on a good amount of time for your body to adapt. 2 to 3 weeks is a minimum. So how soon can you change programs? As soon as you need to. How long can you go on for? Go on until you stop progressing on them. Top 3 supplements for a female after 45. Magnesium, absolutely, can be extraordinarily useful, dependent on your specific position. Estro support, again, going to be useful. I would take a multivitamin. Definitely take a multivitamin. And I would also take vitamin D. Again, vitamin D is going to be very, very, very useful, especially to offset things like osteoporosis, etc., etc. So those would be my 3: magnesium, vitamin D, and what was the other one I said? Cheese brain. Somebody will remember that. I've just lost my brain there. RUP working on a women's clothing range by any chance? We may be. Your thoughts on creatine monohydrate? Very, very good. Take it after your workout. How many calories should you eat for the whole day after doing a marathon? No answer. How long is a piece of string? A lot, basically. Swede Johansson, sup? Opinions on EAAs and super greens. Is Choco Treats a form of super greens? Essentially the similar thing, yes. Full of phytonutrients. Ours just tastes considerably better than anything else on the market. It is incredible. It solves your sweet tooth. It's great in a bowl of oats. It does a million things wonderfully. So yes, I highly recommend getting yourself some Choco Treats. EAAs, essential amino acids, again, very, very good to add to your peri-workout nutrition. Take some EAAs, awesome. EAAs are essential amino acids, which are the amino acids that your body can't produce itself and you should supplement with, just for anyone out there listening and doesn't know. Lisa Palmer, thanks Elliot. Quick question, any idea if being extremely cold all the time, even when sleeping and training too, could indicate a lack of iron? I'm not sure if it could indicate a lack of iron. It could indicate potentially slowing thyroid. It could indicate that you need to put your heating higher. It could indicate that you live in the wrong country. With regards to iron, I don't know that specifically. I've never ever seen that. Lisa Marie Tolley, what's the best way to take Choco Treats? As in, what's the best mix it with if you're in a caloric deficit? Best to mix it with water. It tastes great, you know. If you want like a hot cocoa, you put Choco Treats in hot water. It tastes like hot cocoa. It's amazing. It's a real sweet tooth killer. And obviously you're not adding any extra calories aside from the Choco Treats. I've started using kettlebells recently and find a transition from barbell to kettlebells hard. Do you use kettlebells at UP? Can't say I've noticed in any videos. Joanne, I'm actually a level 2 advanced kettlebell instructor. I used to really love kettlebells. However, when I went to UP, Nick made very, very clear that the only thing that kettlebells are useful for is holding doors open. So no, we do not use kettlebells at UP. We have them here at UP Marbella because we have a slightly different gym setup, but on the whole, no. Nick uses them as door stops, nothing else. Shahida, you're welcome. Miss Sassy 89, doing UP now, being really good at following everything and doing all I need to, but cycles seem to stop weight loss. How can I prevent this in the future, or is it just about time and consistency? Cycles, when you say cycles, do you mean your menstrual cycle? If so, yes, that's relatively expected. You know, you go through a week of the month where your body's all over the place. It's not necessarily stopping weight loss, it's just that you're going to be retaining a bit of water, your training intensity is going to down, your need for rest is probably going to go up. There's going to be a number of things going on there. It's not necessarily stopping your fat loss, not stopping your process, it's just slowing it down temporarily or giving you the perception that it is slowing down temporarily. The important thing is to remain consistent and understand that that is happening. Remain consistent over time and you will still succeed. So try not to worry about that. Obviously, if you have a one-to-one online trainer or a one-to-one trainer, they should be able to account for that with regards to some extra calories over your cycle, which can help you feel a lot better and keep you in the right place. What kind of magnesium do you recommend? There are so many kinds. L-threonate, magnesium L-threonate, which is great because it's one of the only ones that will cross the blood-brain barrier and has a really, really good calming effect on the brain. So if you are one of these people who suffers from a little bit of anxiety or you get a racing mind right before you go to bed, you know the sort, you know, all day you're fine, you lie down and suddenly your head's doing somersaults. That is, magnesium L-threonate is very, very useful to bring that back under control. If you want some of that, you can go to upfitness.com, type in magnesium, and it will bring up the magnesium options we have, one of which is L-threonate, a really, really good supplement. Hannah, Elliot, what should we do if it snows bad here in the UK and the gym is off the cards? We are due a snow day any day now, some weights, but very limited in my space. Hard to say because I'm a bit brutal with stuff like this. The kind of excuses that people use to not go to the gym or not go to work or not go to school or blah, 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 blah. You know, you go to Canada or go to Russia, there's 19 feet of snow and they drive a train through it. We get half an inch of snow in the UK and everybody shits themselves. If you genuinely can't get to the gym, then either pass it for a day or do a bodyweight circuit at home. You know, squats, lunges, push-ups, burpees, crunches. There's a million different bodyweight exercises you can do at home. April Morley, thoughts on diet and zero sugar drinks? They are absolutely terrible for you and I highly recommend you don't drink them. Are they better than the full sugar versions? Potentially, yes, they are. Are they useful on a diet if it means eating or drinking a Diet Coke or smashing down 700 calories of cake? Yes, they are useful. But if you're asking me in isolation, are they good for you? Absolutely no, they are not. Remain away from them. Stay away from them. Topical magnesium or pills? Either or. I've got both in my bedroom. Whichever you prefer. Whichever you prefer, basically. Topical is potentially going to be absorbed a little bit quicker, but see how you go. Since adding broccoli to my diet 8 days ago, I've been feeling bloated, and gassy. Should I persist with eating it? I hope my body... No, take it out, take it out, take it out. Broccoli is a very, very harsh fibre, and you find, even though it's a firm favourite of fitness people because it has a lot of body and it can help sort of kill your appetite a little bit, it's also extremely harsh on the gut and it can cause a lot of problems. So, you know, if you're taking in a lot of broccoli and you see that there's an adverse effect on your gut, either eat a lot less of it or take it out. No matter how long I sleep, I always wake up feeling tired, sluggish during the day. I've done an MRI and there are no underlying issues. Any advice to overcome this issue? Could be a level of malnourishment, and you could be deficient in something, potentially things like vitamin B. So I would go and get a blood test rather than an MRI and see what you are deficient in. It could be a very, very simple answer. How do you improve insulin sensitivity whilst incorporating carbs into your diet? You burn the fuel. You burn the fuel, you burn the fuel. Potentially eat your carbs later at night so you're burning fuel during the day, and make sure you are weight training hard, very, very hard. You can also supplement with things like vitamin D, omega-3 fish oils, carb control, which we have on our website, can also be very, very useful. Berberine is useful. There's a number of different supplements that can help your body deal with insulin slightly better. I'd walk there, but it won't open because the staff get in there. They said, well, they need to wind their necks in a little bit then, don't they? FLC, flavoured water, yes or no? I'm going to say yes if you're flavouring it yourself with fruit, which is not difficult at all. I'm going to say no if you're going into Sainsbury's Metro or Tesco's Metro or whatever and buying one of those fruity flavoured waters. Flavour it yourself with proper, real fruit and you'll be fine. Miss Sassy. Yes, I have a really good trainer one-on-one. He's saying the same. I'm being impatient, but I know it's all in the head. Thanks, though. You're welcome, Miss Sassy. You do genuinely. What you have to remember is that consistency is absolutely everything. Now, I go live once or twice a week in each of the forums with Live Up, the male forum and the female forum. And one of the things I spoke to the guys about this week was trying to remain motivated and understanding that so many of us come into a process like this and we are just committed to the end goal. We say, right, this is where I want to be. We go in not knowing what we have to do to get there, but we say, I'm committed to that end goal, okay? The final transformation, wherever that happens to be. Now, two things are wrong with that. Number one, we don't know realistically what you are capable of and can you get to, what you're going to look like at that end goal. The common thing is, I want to look like Brad Pitt from Fight Club. Yeah, but you're a 65-year-old man who's got 42% body fat. The chances are you're not going to look like Brad Pitt from Fight Club. Yeah, but I want to. You've already lost half the battle. Now, by focusing on the end goal, some people, and we're talking about a very, very small fraction of people, they are so focused that they have already got into their head, I am focused on that end goal and it does not matter what I have to do, I am getting there. I will move mountains to get there. And these people are incredible people. But the majority of people are not these people. This is why the majority of people struggle to get to that end result. What the rest of us need to do is not commit to the end result, but commit to the process, to say, I'm going to commit to getting everything right today, to getting everything right this week, to getting everything right this month. Because if you can commit to the process without thinking about the end goal, you're going to get to the end goal anyway. However, if you only commit to the end goal, but you can't handle the process, then there's going to be a bit of a problem. So just be aware of that. Right. What have we got? Where do we lost? Got a few of them came in. There we go. Difference between probiotic and prebiotic. What's more beneficial? Using them two together, you take the prebiotic first to get your gut in order, and then you take the probiotic to rebuild everything. Hearing conflicting info on nut butter for fats. Thoughts? I love nut butter. I think it's absolutely fantastic. Dependent on your specific needs, you may have allergies to some forms of nuts or the lectin specifically in nuts. So if which the case, go for something like almond butter or something like that. Cashew butter again is really, really good, but I'm a massive fan of it. Best way to improve grip strength. Hold on to something for a very, very long time and hold on to something heavy for a very, very long time. That for me is the best way. You can use things like farmer's walks, you can do weighted dead man's hangs, anything like that. Vibe style, would you still recommend to have carbs at night even if you're training in a day? Would you recommend protein, fats post-workout instead of carbs for evening nighttime? If you're eating enough carbs for that question about insulin to be relevant, then you'd be able to have enough carbs to have some post-workout and the rest in the evening later in the day. Because obviously if you're only taking in like one portion of carbs a day, 50 odd grams, and you're worrying about insulin, we may be missing a point where we may be picking at details that are a bit irrelevant there. Your opinion on maca root powder, do you have any reservations? I have no reservations about it at all. Charlotte Lindstrom, I notice I get more depressed on days I don't work out. Can I do a home bodyweight workout on weekends, for example, or should I stick to working and get my steps in enough rest for my workouts? I mean, I would suggest trying to do something you enjoy, you know, not necessarily working out, because that becomes a bit of an unhealthy obsession. Certainly getting depressed because you're not able to work out suggests a bit of a psychological problem that may need addressing. But do something you enjoy, you know. Do you enjoy horse riding? Do you enjoy swimming? Do you enjoy, you know, try something different? Archery, rock climbing are getting really, really popular now, and for good reason. It's absolutely awesome. There's a lot of indoor climbing centres kicking around. Try something like that, you know, getting into that obsessive place where you feel like you have to train just to feel good. That tends to be where the majority of people, now don't get me wrong, you could be addicted to much worse things, but you do still need to control your gym life. You know, you can't be getting in there every single day, burning yourself out, because eventually that is going to have knock-on effects, bad physical effects later on, or even potentially very, very soon. So find something that engages you just as much, but that is slightly different. Otherwise, you're going to end up, you know, getting into a position where you relapse anyway, and eventually maybe fall out of love with the gym completely. Fat-free green yogurt or normal Greek yogurt? In my opinion, neither. You've just mentioned dairy, etc., and I said no. In my preference, I'm not a massive fan of people having yogurt because of the estrogenic toxicity and the potential for that to elevate. So neither. Gould, what's up? Miss Sassy, totally agree. Super committed to the end goal, or is it just super strong and healthy life, but also having the time in my life and training? Dream come true to train with UP. Awesome. Well, we are glad to have you as part of our team. Megan, what's up? The Jim O'Favon. Is an Airdyne bike the same as a Watt bike? If not, what type of Watt bike do you guys use? I don't have a Watt bike here. I think they've got Watt bikes in the rest of the gym, certainly Manchester. I have an Airdyne bike here, which is slightly different. The resistance is not the same, so I do think they're slightly different. However, I wouldn't be able to give you the technical differences on them. Mark Windows, what do you think of CBD oil for sleep and recovery? I know a lot of people that use it and it's very, very beneficial, but obviously I can't make specific recommendations on something that's still rather illegal in a lot of places. Are carbs very important for fat loss? If yes, how much should I have on training days? Thomas, carbs used in the right amount can be very, very beneficial for fat loss. Carbs used in the wrong amount can be extraordinarily detrimental to fat loss. The right amount is not dependent on me being able to tell you this is how much. It's dependent on how much muscle you have, how much activity you're doing, how hard you are training, how much body fat you're currently carrying, your medical history, your genetics. So there is no answer to that. What I would recommend is start on the low side, 50 to 100 grams, and then see how many you can tolerate while still getting leaner. Charlotte, you're welcome. Queen Idia. Hi, what are your thoughts on the keto diet? I haven't had a banana. I love bananas for 29 days and I've only lost 1.5 kilos. My thoughts on the keto diet, I must answer this every single live feed. I really don't like it. Any diet that is that restrictive is inevitably going to cause failure. You're not going to work with it. Keto and things of that nature have a purpose for certain medical conditions and certain things that they can help with. However, anything restrictive you're going to fail on. Number two, the thing that with keto, and specifically keto, that really gets on my nerves is it's a massive sales ploy. If I tell you that I can get you in shape, me and another me, right? There's another me right here. And he says, oh, I can get you in shape, but I'll let you eat bacon, cheese and shit. And I say, I'm going to get you in shape, but I'm going to make you eat lettuce and broccoli and chicken and lean meats, okay? One of them's far more exciting than the other. Which one are you going to pay for? You're of course going to pay for the one that allows you to eat cream and cheese and bacon and sausages, okay? Think about what's being sold to you. It's a sales ploy. Yes, it does have medical purposes. Yes, it can be beneficial for some people, but with regards to body composition, it's just not. Balance your diet out and get things right. Do you think heavyweight training and incorporating superset giant sets can replicate HRT cardio training? It can if you can do it hard enough. Yes, absolutely. Would there be any need to HRT cardio if you heavyweight train intensely? Again, dependent on genetics, you know, it's really, really good for active recoveries. It's good for increasing power and keeping yourself quick. It's good for elevating metabolism. So yes, there is still not necessarily a need for it, but certainly a benefit to it. Ben Wilcox, thoughts on people needing to reverse diet if they still aren't losing on a fairly low calorie deficit and consistent water intake? You absolutely should. It's something that I do with every single one of my clients. If they're fat loss stalls, I reverse diet them back up to bring them back down. So, you know, there are options there. If you've got someone who's stalled down on low calories, you can either spike them intermittently, you can drive calories up for a day, 2 days, bring them back down, whatever. Or you can, again, dependent on the client's compliance and whether you think that they're going to mentally then binge after that, your other option is to then reverse diet them, take them back up as high as they can tolerate and then bring them back down again. That does often work. Amy Castamembri is very true. Don't do too much. I've hurt my knee. There you go. Humblegram. Optimal dose of vitamin D3, about 5 to 10,000 IUs per day. Optimal dose of zinc, 30 milligrams per day for men, about 10 to 15 for women. Optimal dose of magnesium between 250 and 400 milligrams per day per person, taken before bed. Charlotte, if the seated leg curl is making my knees hurt, am I doing it wrong, or what would be the best exercise? If the seated leg curl is making your knees hurt, I'm assuming it's front of the knees. It would suggest that you've got some tightness through the quads and potentially rectus femoris. So you're going to want to do a bit more flexibility work, foam rolling, and potentially massage on your legs. It's not necessarily because the hamstring curl is hurting your knees, it's because there is something wrong and that pain is referring into your knees. So you want to get that looked at rather than just ignoring it and moving on. Thomas, thanks. Also, what's your view on fruits? Can I have some on a daily basis, even though they're not part of the meal plans in Nick's book, The Ultimate Transformation Body Plan? Yes, in my opinion, I think you should. However, you know, I put fruits in the Live Up plan, the Live Up Fat Loss plan. Again, get some incredible transformations. However, what I would recommend that you do, if you're following a particular plan, stick to the rules of that plan. You know, if you're following Nick's book, follow Nick's book, because you start to deviate and take stuff that you like from here and take stuff that you like from here, guess what? You're not going to get results. Stick to the plan, because these plans are not, you know, things are not put in these plans in isolation. They are put in these plans because they work together. So if he said no fruit, it's no fruit, and I would recommend you stick to that. You're welcome, Ben. Joanne, Elliot's advice on not getting a bruised forearm when doing a kettlebell snatch. Just put, you can go get a kettlebell band. You can actually get a little wristband on there. It's the easiest way. If you do an upper-lower body split, when and how often would you do HRT cardio? I would do HRT. I recommend HRT for the majority of people twice per week is enough. 10 to 20 minutes maximum. Any idea for high protein, low carb, homemade smoothie? I can't stomach food for breakfast. No, I'm a massive, what's the opposite of advocate? Don't know. Not good with English. I don't believe in taking in liquid food in place of whole foods. It's just not good for you. In my opinion, it's not good for you anyway. The only time you've got an excuse to do that is if you are really trying to stack on a ton of muscle, you're eating tons and tons and tons of calories and you simply can't fit it in. For the majority of you out there who have probably got some fat to lose, you shouldn't be taking in liquid diets, so I can't really offer advice on that. Will carbs give you muscle definition, or is that just protein? Again, depends on the situation. You know, if you want to gain muscle, you are going to have to eat enough protein to build muscle. So protein is the priority there. And without going too in depth into that question, Ben Wilcox, if someone is just starting off their transformation, never tracked calories, drank 2-3 litres of water a day, or ever before, what do you usually recommend clients start off with regards to their diet? You know, rather than giving them a calorie target, just teach them how to track one step at a time. So if they've never done any of it before, say, right, from now on, for the next 3 days to a week, track your calories. So they get used to tracking the calories. So they get used to seeing what's in their food, understanding what proteins are, what fats are, what carbohydrates are. Then once they have got to grips with that and you are confident that they are comfortable with it, then you say, right, now these are the macro targets, or this is the meal plan, or blah, 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 whatever you need. This is how you now work that out. And then because they've learned how to track, they've educated themselves a little bit on the food, they will then be able to start dialing that down and get it right. Once they're comfortable with that, then you can start getting a little bit more complicated with things. If you have absolute beginners, always try and keep things as simple as possible. Because the more complex a task you give a client, the more likely they are to push back against you. Subconsciously, they are going to reject it. You don't want that, because that client is going to relapse. So make it really, really simple. Also, if they do fail, no matter how hard they are trying, if they do fail, there's a good chance they're going to feel quite shit about themselves. And that negative reinforcement is not a good thing in the early stages of a diet, because they're going to become unmotivated. Do you usually teach them calorie tracking straight away, or do you use another method first? Pretty much the method I just mentioned there. I teach them how to calorie track themselves, you know, track their own food, and then they can start with targets. Tanya Edwards, how do you advise someone that used to have an eating disorder? Depends on the eating disorder, depends on their current goals, depending on what they want to do. The key with that is to figure out what triggers their eating disorder and try not to take them back down that route. You know, so if someone was obsessive about food, then teaching them how to calorie track and doing all these things is probably not a good idea, because psychologically that could trigger the same obsessive response. So it depends on the person. We have 1 minute 20 seconds remaining, folks, so this is quick fire now. I'm going to get into them really, really quick. Ben Wilcox, cool. Your opinion on almond milk? I've got no issue with almond milk. Like it, good dairy substitute. Mary, gaining on scales but toning. Is this possible, or should scales be dropping? No, don't weigh yourself. I highly recommend every single female out there never ever step foot on scales again, because your weight is completely irrelevant. It does not matter. If you are toning up and you're tightening up, you're getting a bit more muscular, this is a really, really good thing. Forget about what it says on the scales, they're not worth it. Tanya, you're welcome. Najima, how vital are Fitbit watches for tracking? Is it essential to buy one? Absolutely not, no. They are not vital in any way, shape or form. And on the whole, are highly inaccurate. About the only thing they're good for is step tracking. Their calorie output is so far off, it's laughable. But no, they're not vital. What do you think about creatine and AAC pre-workout? I don't really have any opinions on that whatsoever. When's your next live again, please? I will next be live here publicly in 2 weeks' time, so 2 weeks today. Mary, you're welcome. Mia, how do I tone my abs up? I have them there, I just don't want them more toned. You've got to diet harder than Mia. How do you track weekly progress if not on scales, measurements, purely photos? The only thing I care about is photos. Hannah, should you take skin off fish? Is it extra anything? It's going to contain the majority of the fats and potentially some toxins, yes. What about the Apple Watch? Again, no idea. This is me out, goodbye. See you later. YouTube, that was our Instagram live feed. Sorry, I'm a little bit hyperactive today. I'm trying to get the last little burst of energy out of me. If you were not able to join us right there live, hopefully you've watched this during your cardio or doing something very, very productive. Let me just share that. Hopefully you've been watching this while you've been doing something very, very productive. And if you have any further questions on anything that we've mentioned here today, pop them in the comments box below this video. I will put links to the Live Up program, our online training and supplements, etc. in the description box here as well. So if you need anything, just get down there, tap the button and it will take you straight to us. If you have any more questions, you can hit me up on my own Instagram profile at Elliot Upton, 2 L's and 2 T's in Elliot. Or you can go to @LiveUpOnline to see the Live Up Online program page, or @UP Fitness Live, complete with its blue tick. You can go and check out all of them. Make sure you subscribe to this page. Make sure you subscribe to notifications on the Instagram channels as well. So until 2 weeks from now, peace out. See you later.